Good, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Good morning, all. Thank you guys for attending this PlanFirst webinar. My name is Daniel Gaddis. I'm so glad to see so many people that are interested. By my count, we have 122. So I know a lot of people are interested in this program and have heard about it. I hope they've heard about it and are excited about potentially applying this year. Share my screen. Okay. Everybody see my screen okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Yes.
So for those that I have not met, my name is Daniel Gaddis, and I'm the Planning Outreach Coordinator. I joined DCA in November of 2023, and my experience includes time as a planner and an economic development project manager in the Metro Atlanta area, as well as a consultant working with federal grants, public power, and energy efficiency programs. And in a former life, I was an educator for 10 years in Paulding County. I'm very glad to be back working with local governments in Georgia on planning initiatives. We are very excited about this year with PlanFirst. We've got a lot going on. We already had our planning day at the Capitol back in January that recognized our newest PlanFirst designees. And our 2026 application is already available on our website. And we have we have this webinar today, and we also have a webinar for next week for renewal applicants scheduled for next week. So put simply, what is PlanFirst? It's a community that's recognized by the state of Georgia's Department of Community Affairs for implementing their comprehensive plan in an exemplary way. Through a community's goals, leadership, public participation, and implementation of their plan, communities that are designated a PlanFirst community are going above and beyond what is required to make sure that they are keeping effective planning a high priority. You might be asking, okay, well, why would I want to participate? There's several great reasons to apply, and each of these may be different reasons for different motivating factors for different communities. This last circle here shows some new incentives that we're really excited about. So we have recognition at the state level. You have access eligibility every year to apply for CDBG, Community Development Block Grants. You get great interest loan reductions. And then the new couple of new incentives are bonus points on LIHTC, Housing Tax Credit applications, as well as CHIP, Community Home Investment Program. And these 3 bonus points, particularly for LIHTC, is for the 4% and the 9% housing tax credits. And if a proposed development, a housing development, affordable housing development falls within the boundaries of a PlanFirst community, it is eligible for an additional 3 points with an approved revitalization plan. So if you're in a community where a housing authority and developers are working to address housing shortages, then applying for this designation for that benefit alone is well worth the effort. Okay, we're going to camp here on this slide for a little while, and I propose you all listen closely because there may be a quiz following this. As we think about the suite of benefits available to all PlanFirst communities, the architects of this program inserted benefits for communities of all sizes, needs, and demographics. We know that Georgia's communities are diverse, and we have reflected that diversity in this program's design and benefits. So number 1, statewide recognition by DCA. The use of the PlanFirst logo, announcements on our website and all of our DCA social media. PlanFirst designees are invited to the Capitol for Planning Day. You get a recognition in a state Senate and a state House resolution honoring your community. And in several years in the past, we've had a great photo opportunity with our governor. We also want to tout your successes and tell your story as a PlanFirst community from the state level. We have our PlanFirst communities all submit a success story, and this can look like a housing project, a stormwater infrastructure improvement, improved transportation in your community. It could be an economic development project, it could be downtown redevelopment, improved parks, the list goes on. We want to celebrate your successes at the state level. And we want to invite communities to learn about what you did that overcame challenges. We want to learn and we want to share how you engaged with your community, how you tapped critical stakeholders, and how you were a leader in your region, all for the benefit of other similar communities that are dealing with the same issues. This is probably one of the most popular incentives in the PlanFirst benefit package. You have, as a PlanFirst community, you would receive annual access to apply to community development block grants instead of biannual. I already mentioned housing tax credits. This is huge. This is applicable to both the 4% and the 9% applications. 3 bonus points on CHIP applications. The CHIP program is a federally funded program that provides grants to city and county governments, public housing authorities, and nonprofits to rehabilitate owner-occupied homes for sale to eligible home buyers. Grants are funded. The funding limits for the grants are $500,000 for housing rehabilitation and up to $1.5 million for new construction and reconstruction of affordable single-family homes. DCA provides several loans and revolving loans, including the Employment Incentive Program. You would receive a 1% reduction on that. The Redevelopment Fund, as well as the Downtown Development Revolving Loan Fund, the DDRLF, Downtown Development Revolving Loan Fund. Another of our very popular incentives is the access on GFA loans, Georgia Environmental Finance Authority. If you're a PlanFirst community, you receive a 0.5% reduction on those interest rates. And as an example of this benefit, the interest rate savings over the life of a 20-year water or sewer loan of $200,000 would be just over $13,000. And we see several of our PlanFirst communities get a GFA loan after being designated, and a lot of times those are $1 million loans or more. And so we're talking about significant savings to your municipality or county government. Lastly, for over 20 years, Georgia Planning Association and DCA have partnered to provide Community Planning Institute, which is a 2-day workshop that's aimed at planning commissioners, elected officials, and city county staff on all things comprehensive planning, how to best utilize DCA funds, and sharing success stories of planning initiatives in Georgia communities, as well as many, many other topics. This is going to continue, and if you're a PlanFirst community, you can access a free registration, which is currently a $300 value for up to 2 members of your community, staff, elected officials, or planning commission to any community planning institute that we host per 3-year cycle. By the way, we're having our spring CPI, and that's going to be in Columbus, and that's May 15th and 16th, and that registration is available on our website. I'm going to take a brief pause and transition over to Slido for us to take a look at. I want to hear from you guys. Bear with me. Okay, do you guys see the Slido that says, how did you first hear about the PlanFirst program?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Please snap that QR code, and I'd love to hear about how you've heard about this. Nice. See a lot of regional commissions sharing with their network. Thank you guys for that, Northwest. I think I saw CSRA. There it is. The Gaza Conference. First time hearing about it. Emails. Glad my emails are landing where they should. Oh, got an email from GMA. Excellent. Excellent. That's great information. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. So now we're going to transition over to our second Slido that I would like to hear about where you would rank your priorities on these incentives. So as you think about all the things that we talked about for CDBG, CHIP, LIHTC, et cetera, I'd love to hear about where you would rank for your community the importance of these benefits. Right there. So what's most attractive? Is it the annual access to apply for CDBG? Is it the recognition piece, the reputation, prestige, notoriety, just being recognized in your community or by your local government, your elected officials of the good work that you're doing? Is it CHIP? Is it housing tax credit? Is it the 0.5% reduction on GFA loans? Is it the other employment incentive program, redevelopment fund?
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah.
This is Julie. Sorry.
Hey,
Do you
Julie.
want me to jump in with any chat questions at any point, or do you want to hold those to the end?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you have any chat questions, please feel free to, yeah, bring those up to the front and ask me about them. That sounds great. At
Okay,
any
I
point during
thought,
the presentation.
yeah, okay. I thought while we were waiting, it might be a good time now.
Yeah.
Um, so we had a question from Julianne about the LIHTC. So it says, can you clarify for the LIHTC, the 3 bonus points with the revitalization plan in place? Is that the revitalization area strategy, the RAS? Is that also needed to receive the 3 bonus points?
No, the CRP Community Revitalization Plan, as outlined on the QAP, which is the guiding document for housing tax credits, that's found on page 104 and 105 of the QAP. I would definitely recommend you do that. It's not the same as the revitalization area strategy. And we can talk, Julianne, offline about some more details about that in particular. But I would encourage you to check out pages 104 and 105 of the QAP for that guiding document.
Thank you. And we do have one more real quick from
Sure.
Greg Panzer. Does PlanFirst get any bonus points for workforce housing grant?
No, no, it does not. That program manager and I have been in discussion, and we've had a conversation about cross-pollinating, so to speak. But I would say that the program managers of the Rural Workforce Housing Grant and loan, they're very well aware of the Plan First program. They're very well aware of the communities that have prioritized effective comprehensive planning. And although it doesn't materialize as a benefit necessarily on a bonus point, it's certainly something that they're knowledgeable about, and we're talking about. I'm talking about my program to them all the time, and vice versa. So I would certainly encourage you to pursue it, and maybe down the line that's something that we could actually memorialize in bonus points. Great question.
And that's all for now. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Julie. And yeah, as unsurprisingly, the polls show us that that annual access for CDBG is very important. This new benefit for CHIP, just instituted at the end of 2024, is as obviously you guys are interested in. Glad to hear about that. We certainly have a long history of the 0.5% reduction as being something that's a motivating factor for applicant communities, and definitely see that this all tracks with what we're thinking. So thank you so much for sharing your input there.
Okay, while you're transitioning, one more question.
Sure.
So this is from Jamie Wilson. It says, so if we're also a classic Main Street and get a 2% interest rate instead of 3% on the downtown revolving loan fund with the 1% reduction for being a PlanFirst community, do we get a 1% interest rate then?
So no, if you're a Main Street community, that 1%, that would be the 1% reduction. So you would not receive an additional 1% off if you're a PlanFirst community, unfortunately. Good question.
Thanks, Daniel.
You would just get that interest rate reduction from the Main Street status. Right. So here's just a visual representation of these same benefits that we talked about. And of course, check out that last metric, probably the best. Okay, I mentioned that there was going to be a little bit of a quiz. So, Julie, if you could help me monitor the chat, I would love to know if you guys know these crazy alphabet soup acronyms, and would love to ask you to chime in on the chat. What does CPI stand for?
I think it was Nina Shabazz with
All
Community
right,
Planning Institute
Nina.
first.
Great. Thank you, Nina. Okay, yes, Community Planning Institute is a 2-day planning workshop aimed at planning commissioners, elected officials, and planning staff. GFA. What does GFA stand for? Georgia Environmental Finance Authority. Looks like that was
there we go.
Artegas.
Yeah, Artegas.
Or maybe Emily Woodmaster. Thank you, Emily. Georgia Environmental Finance Authority provides low interest loans for public water, wastewater, and solid waste infrastructure. All right, we talked about LIHTC. What does that stand for?
Keisha Morris.
Keisha, absolutely. Keisha from Northwest Georgia Regional Commission. Thank you, Keisha. It is provides housing tax credits to qualified developers serving households with incomes between 20 to 80% of area median income. And again, they provide 4% and 9% credits on those developments. All right, our next one is going to be the RDF. What does RDF stand for? Got some close answers. Oh, I see it from Coleman. We have Redevelopment Fund from Coleman O'Quinn. Thank you, Coleman. Redevelopment Fund is an economic development fund from CDBG that addresses specifically two things, slum and blight. And as a PlanFirst community, you could receive a 1% reduction on that fund. CDBG.
Mark Hawkins.
Mark Hawkins from Waycross. Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. Community Development Block Grant. It is a HUD fund provided to states that focuses on low to moderate income people by providing funding in primarily residential areas. And grants over $300,000 do require local matching funds. Oh, we got 2 for 1 here. We'll start with DDRLF. Yes, Artegas from Sugar Hill. Thank you, Artegas. Yes, Downtown Development Revolving Loan Fund. That is a fund that is financing for city populations less than 100,000 people that have a viable downtown development project. Those funds can be used for real estate acquisition, they can be used for development, redevelopment, and new construction. And on the DDRLF, the max loan for that is $250,000. And then I already saw someone answered, I believe it was Nancy Smallwood, Economic Incentive Program. That's close, actually, but not quite. EIP. And I believe it was our James. Thank you, James, from Southern Georgia Regional Commission. The Employment Incentive Program. It's an economic development fund that generates jobs for low to moderate income persons and involves assisting private businesses. All right, thanks for playing my game. There's no prizes, unfortunately, because we are virtually, but the prize, I guess, is the satisfaction of the knowledge that you have all now gained. I've encouraged our active PlanFirst communities to place the logo, the PlanFirst community logo, in their email signature. And here we have the PlanFirst badge in the wild. This signals to all internal and external stakeholders that this community, City of Grovetown, is serious about public engagement. It's serious about accomplishing its goals and casting a community-held vision for the future. This PlanFirst badge is used very widely on communities' websites. And it's my hope and vision that this could be a conversation starter every time you email someone and can maybe facilitate some learnings about best practices with comprehensive planning. We talked about this recognition piece, and we talked a little bit about the planning day at the Capitol. And this is that benefit that we see here. It's honoring the commitment of these communities for exemplary comp planning. The picture on the left was just taken less than a month ago at the Capitol with our new PlanFirst designees. And the picture on the right was taken in 2020 when we had the pleasure of Governor Kemp attending our event. Besides the photo opportunity and a plaque given out by Commissioner Nunn, these communities are also recognized by a House and Senate resolution. And it's my hope that we can facilitate more discussion from our communities and state legislators. And you can see Representative Ed Setzler right there from Ackworth talking with their their city council members. We had a great event. We had Warner Robins, Augusta, city of Alma. We have the city of Monroe there. We also have Ackworth, we already mentioned. And then we had a city of Camilla in Southwest Georgia, city of Griffin as well. So really great day that we had. So currently there are 19 active PlanFirst communities. Historically, since the year 2015, there have been 57 total designated communities. Our 19 active communities are Ackworth, Alma, Augusta, Bainbridge, Camilla, Cornelia, City of Douglas, Dublin, Griffin, City of Grovetown, Gwinnett County, City of Hawkinsville, Marietta, Monroe, Oconee County, City of Perry, Toccoa, Vidalia, and the City of Warner Robins. So how do you participate? Well, there are restrictions. There's eligibility requirements of who can even apply. Number one is qualified local government status. The program rules stipulate that you can't have lost this status, this QLG status, more than twice over a 10-year period, which is only 2 plan cycles. So I'm going to say that again. You can't have lost QLG status more than twice within a 10-year period. Also, a single instance of QLG loss cannot exceed 28 days, which is 4 weeks. And yes, David, we're going to actually have this presentation posted on our website. I haven't considered sending them out by email, but certainly we'll be having it on our website, and I could maybe send a link to that to the attendee list here. The program at its core is about the comprehensive plan. So these deadlines, making sure that your plan is submitted timely, is key to your eligibility. Additionally, your service delivery strategy, SDS, must be verified by us, and also have to have submitted the GOMI and RLGF, which are the legislatively required surveys. GOMI, by the way, stands for Government Management Indicators, and the RLGF is the Report of Local Government Finances. As you may already know, we also require that the applicant community adheres to your regional commission's minimum performance standards. So we have to verify with those regional commissions that you're just meeting your minimum and hopefully exceeds those. You have to check with our office just to check your eligibility by April 15th, and we'll respond to you, let you know if you can apply or not. And then the application is due midnight on May 15th. If you have any questions about any of these, please feel free to reach out to that email address, and we can explain what they are and what the requirements are in more details. So the application, let's talk about that for a little bit. You might be wondering what it's actually asking and what metrics are the communities being judged. It's helpful to view this application in 4 major buckets. So goals, leadership, participation, and implementation, and we're going to talk about all of these briefly. For the goals section, we really want to know, the reviewers want to know, are the goals that you've outlined in your comprehensive plan, are they enjoying community and leadership support? Is your community reaching for aspirational and ambitious goals? Remember, this is to recognize those that are going above and beyond. We also want to know, are these goals achievable? We're asking about if the goals actually are moving the needle on decision making in your community. And we also want to know about consistently making progress for accomplishing your goals. The next indicator is about leadership, and we want to know how planning is done in your community. We recognize that Georgia is largely filled with rural communities, and having an on-staff planner is sometimes just not a reality. But we do want to know how planning is being done in your community, whether that's from an official planner position, or if there's some zoning administrator, or if there's some elected officials or code enforcement. And so we know that many people in local governments wear lots of hats. But tell that story. Tell about how planning is being done in your community. We want to know what the staff does look like. We want to know if your planning commission is active. We want to know, are local officials, elected officials, going out and getting training to use the comprehensive plan more effectively? And we also want to know, are there other community leaders that aren't on staff and maybe they don't serve on the planning commission? They're not elected officials, but are they being brought to the table in decision making? This application really gets to the heart of how is the community actually being engaged. Um, we are asking about if this goes above and beyond the minimum of just the 2 public hearings. And we really want to know, is the community input actually being incorporated into the comprehensive plan, or is it just tokenism? The last indicator is the implementation, and that's how effective has your local government been in actually implementing the community work program and casting the vision that's been agreed upon by your community. How effective have you actually been in doing the work? Have you consistently finished your planned projects? Are there recent projects highlighted in this application? These are all things that we're looking for. A question I get asked often is who actually reviews these? So here are some wonderful headshots. Can't promise that these are all very recent, but you can see our planning research and geoanalytics team, the pictures there. We see a variety of AICP professionals, research, public policy professionals. We have GIS specialists, people who look at comprehensive plans every single day. We also have our regional lead, Elizabeth Smith, that I could not find a headshot of, but she also reviews those as well. We have a ton of other agency partners and other organizations that read these applications and provide feedback and scoring. And those include the One Georgia Authority housed here at DCA. We also have partners with GMA and ACCG that reviews these applications. Our friends and partners at GEFA, the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, they always provide excellent feedback. And we also partner with Georgia's Archway Partnership. They also provide great scoring and an opportunity for us to collaborate together. And perhaps most importantly, other PlanFirst communities score and review these applications. We found that's a great way to share learnings across the state. And consistently, I've had a lot of feedback from those other PlanFirst communities that say, I'm so glad I get a chance to see what Community X is doing and Community Y is doing. So it's pretty robust review. When we think about the application and as we review them, what's the number one piece of advice? When I first came aboard here in 2023, I asked that question from our team and others, and I said, what is the number one bit of advice that you could offer to an applicant community? And resoundingly, this was the answer. As we'll get into a little bit later, you'll see that a lot of these questions are multi-part. So a lot of times, we get an answer, a partial answer to the question, or maybe 2 of the 3 parts of the question are answered. So to ensure the best success for your application, I would definitely encourage you to read the question fully and make sure it's all parts of it are answered. Okay, let's dive into some of the actual questions of the application. Question E, the indicator on leadership, is very indicative of the type of questions that you'll see throughout the application. And this is a great example of a question that very often does not get answered in its entirety. Specifically, there's one part of this question that doesn't get answered most. Do you think it's the red, the blue, or the green? Drop that answer in the chat. Just give your best guess. Seeing a few greens, seeing a lot of blues. I would say the consensus, Julie, I don't know if you agree, but I think is blue is what most people are guessing.
I think so.
And that is correct. I don't know if it's just a psychological aspect of you read the first part of the question and then you kind of just skim, but most often this middle part gets omitted because it's also it's a challenging question to answer. Please think about why is your arrangement the most appropriate for how your population size, the structure of your local government, etc. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some of our the 2023 and the 2024, which is our most recent applications. And I took the data and found the lowest scoring questions on each of these. And I also took the highest scoring questions on each of these sets of applications. So in 2023, the lowest scoring question scored on average with all the reviews, a 3.07. This question, like most of them on the application, is out of 5. So every single question on the PlanFirst application, the max score is 5, except for the last question, which can get you 10 points. And so I provided some bullets here of actual feedback from our reviewers that I think encapsulated why this maybe score didn't get as high as you would want it. A lot of times that the question is answered partially, stated broadly, that has money allocated for projects in the community work program, but did not provide an example. This person says, I answered how the community work program is funded, but doesn't explain how it actually drives allocation decisions. I see this response a lot, would just like more detail. And then you see only one short, rather non-descriptive paragraph was provided. So here's an example of the highest scoring question from 2023. This scored by far the highest throughout all of the applications. And the question was, describe how your community work program drives your community's resource allocation decisions, i.e. annual budget, capital budget, staff resources, facilities, etc. Provide examples. And I'll let you guys read that yourself.
Daniel, while we've paused for a minute, somebody asked, let's see, Judy, if we applied last year, can we see how we scored?
Yes, absolutely. I'm more than happy to have that conversation. Matter of fact, following this past year's, I reached out to every applicant and offered the opportunity to have a one-on-one to talk about their application, to talk about their score. Judy, please email me, and then we can get something together to talk about your application so we can make improvements on the next one. More than happy to do that. So you can see these arrows show where this question really gets answered. The city references the community work program during the budgeting process, weighing priorities and available funding sources for capital infrastructure improvements such as drainage, water, and wastewater systems and parks. Additionally, what I really appreciate about this answer was we all know things aren't always rosy and perfect. This person had a recognition of reality, and they write, with that said, the dollars that are spent align with the CWP. This includes the city's significant investment of SPLOST dollars as a match for CDBG projects to help with maintaining infrastructure. Previously, that says, as a result, it's difficult to show major investments in any part of the city as the community experiences some economic struggles. We know that's a reality. We appreciate the honesty. Okay, so now let's talk about the second lowest scoring question from the 2023 group, and that's question P, scored on average a 3.22 out of 5. Describe how individual projects or activities in your community work program advance items discussed in both your goals element and needs and opportunities element. Examples should clearly illustrate the linkage of the different plan elements. And I think what often gets missed here is the linkage piece, explaining how that ties back into your goals element and your needs and opportunities element. And you can see the bullets show some actual reviews and what their thoughts were on the application. Not how it ties back to goals and needs. Never gave a specific example, project, or activity to tie back how it accomplishes the goals and needs. and opportunities element. On the flip side of this coin, so this is question P. Remember, describe how individual projects, activities, your community work program, advance items discussed in both your goals element and needs and opportunities element. And this is an example of the highest scoring question in 2023. And you can see that in the parentheticals, several examples were provided. This answer scored the highest on this group. And I'll let you guys read that yourself. And I did highlight on the green that this was tied into the construction of the Rottenwood Creek multi-use trail. All support the need and opportunity for more extensive bike and pedestrian facilities that in turn support the city's overall vision of being a hub of activity where traffic, transit, and pedestrians move about easily and safely. And then, of course, they provided those plan references there. All right, moving on. Here's another example of, oh, this was the same score. So this is also the highest score, 4.14 in 2023. And City of Hawkinsville gives us a great answer here. You can see that they really were very specific about their community work program, and they actually showed it, their goals and their needs and how they align. So this was a great way to visualize. It was very readable, digestible, and really thought they did a good job with this question. All right, moving on. Now we're on to our 2024 applications, our group last year. And this is question F. Demonstrate that you have an active planning commission or similar body to steer local planning decisions. State why each member's input is valued. Include the meeting schedule, a list of members, their affiliations, title, and background information that is pertinent to their role. If you do not have a planning commission, please address how current land use decisions are made. And again, these bulleted statements provide some reviews. Yes, they include their meeting schedule, list of members. They also state that the commission input is taken very seriously by the mayor and board. Meeting schedule, check. A good mix of expertise from real estate to finance to community development. I definitely appreciate how Mr. Prince is representing the Board of Education perspective. They have an organized and active planning and zoning commission, good mix of people, included an agenda example. And I have their actual answer here. This is, they scored, the city of Camilla scored a 4.6 here. And you can see why they scored very well, because they stated why each member's input is valued. They went on to include the meeting schedule. They have a list of their members, their affiliations, title, and background information that's pertinent to their role. All right. This is a continuation of City of Camilla's answer. I couldn't fit it all into one slide. Here you can see the regular meetings of the Planning Commission are held on the third Monday of each month, et cetera, et cetera. Tells us about their agenda, who the Planning Commission is supported by, administrative assistant. Really nice answer by Camilla. Okay, so we talked about some of the highest scoring questions from the last year's application. Now let's talk about some of the lowest scoring. This question was the lowest scoring at 3.17 out of 5. The question is, question M, how do you ensure that your planning, outreach, and engagement activities are responsive to stakeholders representing all demographic and socioeconomic backgrounds? Give specific details about your efforts to engage hard-to-reach populations and underrepresented groups and voices. Provide examples from your previous comprehensive planning process. The table on your right shows all of our applications for the new applications last year and the scores on this individual question. The highlighted indicates the communities that were designated as PlanFirst. So you can see we've got a little bit of a mix. We had some of our designees not score very great, like Community A, Community B, and Community K, but their overall score was high enough that got them in. So this is proof that this is a tough question and that communities of all sizes and makeup is going to struggle a little bit. So we're really trying to get to the meat of how a community is actually engaging those that are hard to reach, that are they usually are underrepresented populations, and this is a challenge. We recognize that. Augusta did a nice job with this question, and so we highlighted it. A key component of our engagement strategy involved re-educating the public on the importance of being stakeholders in the process of stakeholder identification. Empowering those individuals to recognize their influence in policymaking encouraged greater participation. And they provided an example during the 2023 public meeting at the Sand Hills Community Center, where historically underrepresented residents are actively engaged as stakeholders. Their contributions were crucial in shaping the plan's needs, opportunities, and goals. And they go on to provide other ways that they've reached these hard to reach populations. Okay, this is our second lowest scoring question from last year, and this is question O. List any active advocates you have for local comprehensive plan implementation, such as activist citizens, organizations, or neighborhood groups that affect decisions made by community leaders. How have they affected these decisions? And again, same table on the right, but this is particular for this question. And the highlighted indicates those communities that were designated as PlanFirst. And you can see we have actually a really big delta here. So of the applications that were selected, the ones that were selected as PlanFirst designees, their average score was 3.7 on this question. Of those applications that were not selected, their score averaged a 1.9. So the designees were 3.7. The ones that were not selected averaged a 1.9 in this question. That means the difference was a full 1.8 points. And here I provided the highest scoring question on this question, question O. Again, as a reminder, question O says, list any active advocates you have for local comprehensive plan implementation, such as activist citizens, organizations, or neighborhood groups that affect decisions made by community leaders. How have they affected these decisions? You can see they provide us a nice table, what their efforts are on the second column, and then how they actually affected decisions on the third column. After reviewing this application several times, I can say that if there is a softball question, and there's not really one, but if there is, then it would be this question L. This is a question that, provided that your local government keeps decent records and communicates well, and I know that's a big if, but it should be simply plugging in known information that you already have. This question is also one that lends credibility to the idea that starting early will help you be successful. For example, it does take time to track down your steering committee folder and to make sure that you have all the information. And if you don't have complete information on your steering committee, you may have to do some Googling. You may have to make some phone calls or send some emails. And I want you to notice that this question, like most of the questions on this application, are multi-part. Coming to the home stretch here, and it's just going to be a little bit of a reiteration. Read the questions carefully and make sure you answer it in its entirety. Sometimes we get answers that are not about the comprehensive plan, but about other plans in your community. We think that planning is wonderful, obviously, but this designation is specifically about the comprehensive plan. And although adjacent or related planning efforts may merit mentioning, keeping your answers tied to the comprehensive plan is the most important idea. Reviewers like to see the correct section referenced. So the section in your comprehensive plan in your application, this helps contextualize your answers, and it helps everyone make a reference to the plan to follow up. We all know that stories resonate better when accompanied by images. If you have a new park, a streetscaping, or innovative downtown seating project, show them to us. Working on stormwater improvements, show us your sewers. Most of your reviewers can't go in person to your community, so tell us and show us through pictures. Don't be vague or short. Let your answers be accurate and thorough. We'd encourage you to revisit the application regularly throughout the year and allow this application to provide ideas for your community's implementation of your comp plan. For example, question N is, after adoption of your local comprehensive plan, what active, ongoing outreach processes have you used to solicit input on planning matters from a cross-section of the community? If you are thinking through a new corridor study or have received an application for a large-scale rezoning project, consider how are you engaging with the public? Are you utilizing creative methods to solicit feedback from a variety of stakeholders? Next, this application is robust. Just like when we were in school, we can all tell when a test or paper was part of a cram session and the answers were hammered out the night before, powered by Red Bull and vending machine food. Allow several weeks to gather the information you need. This will help your answers be clear and thoughtful as can be. Also, starting out early will give you time to go through several internal reviews within your local government, which we all know will result in a better product. That brings me to the third suggestion. Allow your application to be reviewed. Have your reviewers check for consistency, grammar, syntax, and the quality of the answers. Sometimes when working on a project like this, it's easy to get tunnel vision on a certain answer. Others can often provide a fresh perspective and can help you focus your answers to make them easier to understand and to allow your point to come across in a more cogent, concise way. The last tip, examples, is a make or break point. After reviewing several applications, answers, and reviews, one of the biggest positives and the biggest negatives were the examples. When examples are not provided, reviewers score very negatively. But when quality examples are provided, reviewers take note and they score very highly. You probably won't be designated a PlanFirst community if quality examples are not provided. When you're at a council or commission meeting and you notice an activist citizen regularly speaking on issues where it makes sense, think about bringing that person into your comprehensive planning process and engage with that person and the neighborhood or group that that person represents, and note that engagement on your application. We know that you all are doing good things. Good storytelling can be augmented by pictures and should be. Review your community work program and then take a drive around your community. Take photos and upload them along with the presentation. This will stimulate your thinking and will be a huge help on boosting your application's chances. Sort of a collection here. We've already talked about this and we're running low on time, so we're going to move along. Lessons learned. Answer the question you're asked, be very specific. Regional commissions have been and continue to be a great benefit in help filling out the application. Shout out to my guy, Greg Boyke from Middle Georgia. Renewals are not automatic, so if you are a designated community and you apply to be a renewal, just know that this is something that's also looked with a very critical eye. So not everybody does renew as well. So some people decide not to continue. Here we have one of our PlanFirst superstars, the city of Douglas, Georgia. It's a small rural town of roughly 12,000 in population. It's the county seat of Coffee County and is one of the few three-time PlanFirst designees in the state. You can see that the city of Douglas was relentless in accessing incentives. They took advantage of 3 successive years of applying for CDBG funds. In 2022, they expanded their Head Start facility and invested in the youth of the community. In that same year, Douglas enjoyed a 0.5% interest rate reduction on a $3 million GFA loan, which amounts to roughly $170,000 in savings. Before and after pictures of a residential area in Douglas that made sewer and street improvements with CDBG funds. And here we have they're taking advantage of a 2020 CDBG fund. They were awarded $750,000 to build a mental health substance abuse treatment facility to address issues in the community. The city, local employers, and most importantly, the residents of Douglas all stand to gain from this facility and the services it offers. And with that, I left the QR code for you to access our PlanFirst applications. That'll take you to that website. And I'd love the opportunity to give the opportunity to you all to ask any questions or clarifications needed. Any questions? Greg, will DCA tell us why a community may be ineligible? Absolutely. When you check for eligibility with our office, planning@dca.ga.gov, then I'll let you know exactly why you were ineligible or if you are eligible. If an answer scored well in our previous application, should we reuse the answer with some mild updating? I'll defer to your judgment on that. I would say that we certainly want to look at more recent, your most recent comp plan update. So if this answer falls in an application period where you haven't had a new update of your comprehensive plan and you've applied very recently, then I think absolutely, if it's still applicable to your most recent plan update, then sure. The smallest city to have received the designation was Woodbury. I can't remember the population. And I do know off the top of my head, the largest community that's been designated, which is Gwinnett County, that just recently surpassed 1 million in population last year.
Woodbury has about 900 people.
Thank you, Julie.
Welcome.
See some friends. Teresa Crow, thank you. Thank you, Brianna. Paul, you have a question. You stated communities are eligible if they haven't lost QLG twice in 10 years. We had a community that lost it once, and we're told that they could not apply until after 2 planning cycles. Any further clarification? So it's my understanding of the rules that you can't have lost it more than twice, but I'm happy to find out if there's any extenuating circumstances, or Paul to talk with you about this offline about specific eligibility.
It's more than twice or a certain amount of time, and you can't exceed either. And I don't remember the days, so I don't want to quote it directly, but it's like 20 something days, I think.
28, yeah.
28, thank you.
So it may have been that you've lost it twice, but then one single instant, the combined loss exceeded 28 days, which is possible. Yes, Nancy, is there a recertification every so many years? Yes, this is a 3-year designation. And as you come into your 3rd year, we would encourage you, if you're interested, to apply for renewal. And that would happen in your 3rd year of the program. So, for example, we have a lot of communities coming up for in their 3rd year of the program. So they're going to be attending our webinar next week to learn about the renewal application, which is slightly different. If an update happened after the deadline, meaning the deadline of the PlanFirst application, I'm assuming, can you base your app on the previous version of the comp plan? So I would say if you're in the comprehensive planning process now, maybe you have an October deadline, but the application is due in May, I'm speaking as one reviewer, I think I share the sentiment of many, but if this process is ongoing, I would certainly encourage you to include the most recent information about your comprehensive planning process. Well, I have 10:02. Thank you all for coming. If you have any additional questions, I'll stay on for a few more minutes. Again, here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out, and try to do a good job of being timely in my responses. So thank you all for coming, and best of luck on your applications. Greg, I see your question. We require 2 plan cycles of maintaining QLG status. So if, for example, let's just throw in a year, if your community is ineligible because you lost QLG status for 29 days and the year was 2020, and that's when it happened, we need 10 years of maintaining that QLG status, so 10 years then you would be eligible in the 2030 year. And I know that feels restrictive, but we do that because we want to see consistent maintenance of QLG and consistent meeting of deadlines for the comprehensive plan. And that only covers 2 plan cycles. So that's why that 10 years is there. And no, it's not indefinitely ineligible, just for 2 plan cycles. Good question. I see you, Paul. Can I get a copy of this in an email? I will send out a link to this presentation once it gets posted on our website. What I'm doing immediately following this is to work on getting it uploaded. It does have to go through a short review process with our IT department. I do anticipate that being taken no longer than Friday. So whenever this gets uploaded to our website, I will send out a link to that so you can access this recording. Hello. Let's see, that was Town of Alto. All right. Last chance for any additional questions. Okay, I'll end the meeting. Thank you all.